love all of our players. Freddie, nice guy.
Look, the crack of that bat. Nothing more beautiful than that.
Baseball is such an important part of our family.
That's the beautiful game of baseball right there. You win some, you truly lose some.
I just want somebody to talk Dodgers to me.
Welcome back to Talk Dodgers to Me. This is episode 39, and I am sitting across from someone I have listened to for years. He gives us a different side to the players with his kind approach and genuine love for the game. He is a reporter for the Dodgers, host of Dodger Talk, voice of the fans. He feels like a friend. David Vassegh, I am so excited to have you on the podcast.
Oh, Melissa, thank you for having me. You do great stuff, and I can feel your passion watching your podcast and seeing your Instagram account. So awesome that we can make this happen.
Thank you so much. You always give the players such a good intro, so I feel like I had to do you justice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But honestly, David, I just want to tell you this up from the top. Listening to your show has really heightened my love for the Dodgers because what you give us is everything that I care about. You know, a different side, humanizing the players, introducing us to the faces behind the organization. So when I first started this, you really were one of the top people I wanted to talk to just because of what you've meant to me in moving to LA and becoming a big Dodger fan.
Well, that's awesome, Melissa. That really does mean a lot and makes me feel like I'm doing something right. But that's kind of always been my goal since broadcasting is to humanize the players and, you know, shed a different side to what makes them tick because they're great on the field, but what makes them great? How are they able to get through adversity on and off the field? And I think it's important to share that with everybody because there is a story to every player. There is a story to every game. And it may not be what you think on the surface. So I really appreciate that. And where are you from? Where did you come from that you're a Dodger fan now?
I grew up in New Jersey, but I booked a one-way flight to LA when I was 21 and, you know, really chose this as my home and chose the Dodgers as my team. I come from a big baseball family, but I'm the only Dodger fan. And hey, I have a Dodgers podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's a different side that a lot of times when you're in it, like we are on a day-to-day basis at the stadium and grinding through 162 games, sometimes you forget what the outside world is thinking, right? But that's my job to try to connect the two. But awesome to listen to your podcast and to see the clips, like I said, on social media, because you are a fan. You're representing what the fans are thinking. And it's always a good temperature check to hear what Melissa and the fans are thinking about.
Thank you. Now, besides Miggy Rowe, who is our first active player to come on the podcast, you are telling me you've seen and heard of my podcast before. So that really makes me happy and gives me a sense of pride.
Yeah, that's awesome, Melissa. I think your joy for the game and for the Dodgers comes through. And obviously winning the World Series is a great vibe. Everybody seems happy. There doesn't seem to be any issues with what the Dodgers are or not doing during the offseason. Everybody's great. Everybody's a Hall of Famer after you win a World Series, right?
Yes, exactly. But before we get to all that, and I'm so excited to talk to you about the World Series win, I really want to know, where did your love of baseball come from?
Well, it's generational, right? It gets passed down. My dad and my uncles were big sports fans, not only the Dodgers, but the Lakers, the Rams. So that's where, you know, it got kind of passed down to me. I remember watching, you know, Dodger games with my dad. And once my parents were divorced, my uncles would drive all the way from the San Gabriel Valley and come pick me up and take me to Dodger games because my mom was working and she couldn't really do that. So they helped me, you know, continue to water, if you will, the passion, the seed that was planted in the early 80s. And one of my first tough memories as a Dodger fan, and one of the first memories of watching a game was the 1985 NLCS and watching Ozzie Smith hit the walk-off home run in game 5 and Jack Clark hitting the walk-off home run in game 6. So I remember that as a kid. Those are some of the first vivid memories. I remember watching Dusty Baker play towards the end of his career in 1983, and I just loved his style. I loved his smile. I loved the way he played the game, and that was one of my first favorite, or he was my first favorite player. As far as like the Lakers, I remember them getting swept by the Sixers in '83. I remember Norm Nixon and Mo Cheeks going at it. So those are the first flashes of memories of watching sports.
I love hearing that. And it really makes you just the perfect person to be the host of Dodger Talk. It's just so cool hearing your genuine love for the game and for this team and for our city of LA sports. How has your fandom changed since working for the team?
Yeah, I'm no longer a fan, right, Melissa? Obviously, I do care about the Dodgers. I do care about the players that I've gotten to know, some better than others, but I do care, and I do care about doing the job. And
Mhm.
look, everybody knows I want the Dodgers to win, but uh, I grew up listening to Vince Scully. I grew up listening to Don Drysdale. I grew up listening to Chick Hearn. And we all knew they wanted the Dodgers to win, but they never let that get in the way. They always called it down the line and shaded it a little bit. Chick a little bit more than Vince, shaded it more towards the home team. But that's what I grew up on. And we're
Mhm.
not these small town Midwest teams or broadcasters where they're openly rooting for their team. That's not the standard that was set by the greatest play-by-play broadcasters. And even though I'm not a play-by-play broadcaster, Rick Monday and Charlie Steiner, same thing. They call it right down the middle. Obviously, Rick Monday, who played for the team and hit one of the biggest home runs ever for the
Yeah.
Dodgers, wants them to win. Charlie Steiner's been here 20 plus years. He obviously wants the team to win, but he's never allowing that to get in the middle of calling the game down the middle. If there's a bad play, he'll say it. If there was a bad call that went against the team or went against the opposing team, they'll say it. So that's the standard, right? And that's how it's evolved for me. Obviously, I want the Dodgers to do well. Obviously, the players that you hear on interviews and after games, I care about them and I want them to do well and all of that. But if Miguel Rojas makes a rare error, I'm going to say that was an error. That changed the game. If Freddie Freeman strikes,
Know what error I'm thinking about.
yeah, if Freddie Freeman strikes out with the bases loaded, I'm not going to overreact because Freddie Freeman has delivered, and now forever will have eternal credit with the fan base. But you know what I mean? There's turning points in every game, every season, and it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I feel like every day, I have to see these guys and I have to look them in the eye and I have to feel good and feel convicted in what I said and how I said it. So that's the way I do it.
Did you have to almost like separate your emotions a bit from day to day? And so you're not so hung up on every win or loss, like someone like me who is behind her couch, peeking through my fingers, pacing back and forth, watching each game. I mean, it's even changed for me a little bit, or I've had to as I do this podcast.
Yeah, I never honestly like. Yeah, it's a little bit different for me now. The press box is a place where you don't cheer, you don't do any of that kind of stuff. So it's just different, right? It's just different for me, and I am an emotional person. I'm a passionate person, and sometimes that gets the best of me. But a lot of times I have to always remember, to reel it in and to calm down the emotions, especially in games.
Yeah, for sure. I'm wondering how, like, when you first started, I can only imagine like going up to a player and figuring out how to get them for an interview was probably pretty hard. So, how has that changed from when you first started to now? I mean, you have such a great relationship with the players, such great rapport. They're, making fun of you, and it's awesome to listen to.
Yeah, Melissa, even though I'm married with kids now, I'm pretty used to rejection. I feel like rejection, as I'm used to that. But yeah, it's kind of like that. Some guys, some days are better than others, and a lot of times I will hear no or hey, let's do it tomorrow. And you can't allow that to get you upset or not. You just have to understand it's not just about your interview or what you need that day. But for the most part, obviously, guys know that I'm not going to put them in a tough position. It's an interview that's going to play before a Dodger game, but I also want them to share a little bit more than stuff on the surface. But yeah, honestly, I'm so grateful for the cooperation a lot of these guys give me, and yeah, it's not something that I take for granted. Quite honestly, I'm very grateful for that. And look, some players feel like I don't interview them enough. It's gotten to that point. Nobody has ever said,
Wow.
except one player who will remain nameless, that I
Okay.
didn't interview them enough. So, when it starts to get to that point, I'm very flattered. I don't want to wear guys out and go to them too often. So there's that balance. And maybe sometimes I do, leave them alone for too long of a period of time. But yeah, it's awesome. And
I love that.
yeah, it's cool. I'm very happy. And like it makes the job a lot more enjoyable when players are cooperating, but more importantly, you enjoy talking to them. It would be tough if you were interviewing a player you didn't like. For the most part, the Dodgers have brought in great character players over the last
Yep.
13 years.
Yep. So you're not bribing them with Travis Mathew swag anymore?
Who told you that, Melissa?
I
I
listen
do.
to the
Travis
talk.
Mathew is a great supporter of David Vassegh and the pregame interviews. So yes, to a certain extent, I do, and that's a thank you for their time. This goes back to like the early '80s,
Oh, okay. It's
Melissa.
a thank you. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a thank you for their time. At
I
this
love
point,
that.
they're immune to the Travis Mathew gift cards. Now Travis Mathew has a direct relationship with most of these guys. But yeah, it goes back actually. Mike Scioscia was telling me back when he was a player with the Dodgers, uh, they would be handed out Sears gift cards for the
Oh,
pregame interview. So it's
I don't think Sears exists anymore.
well, it doesn't, but back in 1982, it did. So yeah, that it's a thank you for their time and appreciation that we're not taking it for granted. But yes, I do have to bribe sometimes.
Well, speaking of someone who I know has quite a few shirts from Travis Mathew, one of my favorite interviews you did was this past season with Corey Seager. And one of the reasons is because I finally got a little bit of validation hearing a player say that knocking the Astros out of the ALCS gave him some bit of redemption. And that was like, the players aren't really open speaking about it. So besides reading Joe Kelly's book, which
Mhm.
did give me a lot of satisfaction as a Dodger fan, hearing Corey admit that, was great. But also just for someone like him, the way you get him to open up and feel comfortable talking to you, for someone who doesn't like the spotlight, I just like, what do the relationships with these players mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to a point now, Melissa, where I'm seeing the whole career arc of some of these players. The first time I ever met Corey Seager was when he came to Dodger Stadium back in 2013 or 2014, actually, and was named the Dodgers Minor League Player of the Year. They bring him out there. He gets to see the stadium for the first time and comes out and does the media stuff in the press box. So I've known Corey since then. And for whatever reason, we've connected. Number one, he's a great guy and isn't materialistic and doesn't care about the fame. He reminds me a lot of Clayton Kershaw in a lot of ways, that he doesn't care about all that. He doesn't care about, the fame, being popular. He only cares about today. He doesn't even care about if he had 4 hits, hit for the cycle the day before. He cares about today. And
Yeah.
that's the one part of him that I've respected. And also, he's got great parents. Grew up in North Carolina. He's got a great foundation, great parents, and just that's the relationship. It's evolved organically. They're just like, I don't know if anybody has work friends. you gravitate towards certain work friends more than others. That's what I try to tell everybody when they say like, "Oh, you guys are really good friends." It's like, yeah, we are. If they needed anything, I'd be there. But for the most part, Rick Fox told me this when he was playing for the Lakers. He said, "You are a great work friend." So ever since then, that was back in 2000 when he came to the studio actually to be on with Arnie Spanier that day. Everybody was saying the same things like, "Oh, you love Vassegh, this, that." He's all like, "Yeah, great work friends. He gives us the space." Same thing. And I think that's the reason why a lot of these guys respond is that I'm not being a fan, right? But
Mhm.
I actually, him and Bellinger, I've seen them since they were rookies and in the minor leagues. And just because they're wearing a different uniform doesn't mean they're any less of great guys. And they're still great players. And I'm not going to
Absolutely.
tell you it hurt watching Seager do what he did with the Rangers. And I'm
Mhm.
sure it hurt Seager a little bit not being part of the parade this year and being part of this team. He didn't say that, but you would imagine
A little
part of
bit.
him had some FOMO. Justin Turner admitted he had some FOMO a couple of weeks ago. So those guys were so tight, Melissa, from 2015 to 2020. Guys like Alex Wood, Ross Stripling, Kike, Barnes, Bellinger, um, Alex Wood, Seager, Bellinger, like those guys, they all got married within a short amount of time. They all grew up, got
So
married.
crazy.
Yeah, they got married. They had kids. Like they were all at each other's weddings, baby showers. They just have a really tight bond. And unfortunately, the only championship they won was a championship that they couldn't celebrate with the city.
Yeah, I know. And I love that whole team. And that's kind of when I entered the Dodger world and started becoming a fan. So I still follow all those guys and the mentality of the Dodgers, which kind of speaks to what you said about Seager of really like the one day at a time, not getting too ahead of yourself, just being such a, in the game and in the moment is something that like why I love baseball so much and what I try and take into my life. And I really have loved all the moves the Dodgers do. I almost just like can't wait to see what they're going to do next. But the one that I don't know if I'll ever get over, and you mentioned him before, and I know you just hosted his golf tournament, is Justin Turner. That still is heartbreaking. I didn't ever want him to go to another team.
Yeah, I think you're echoing what every Dodger fan feels. But 9 great years in LA, Melissa, and obviously the Dodgers had their eyes on Otani and another multi-year contract with Justin. I'm not sure how it would have worked out, but obviously the business of baseball is still part of it, and yeah, it's unfortunate that he wasn't able to just finish his career with the Dodgers, but yeah, it's one
You never
thing
know.
you never
You
know.
never know.
You never know, but the chances are unlikely.
Oh,
But he still has baseball left in the tank, and no matter where he goes now, the best years of his career and who he will be identified with is the Dodgers. It doesn't matter. I mean, think about it. Guys like Ron Say, Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, they all ended their careers with other teams. That doesn't change what they did and how great they're remembered. So if Steve Garvey can finish his career in a different uniform, then obviously anybody can.
yeah, and I have found a way to justify it to myself so that I can move on by saying, I think he'll be a great manager one day. So maybe playing for different organizations, different teams, meeting all of the new people is going to enhance his managerial role one day.
Yeah, for sure. I think he said that to us last year when he was in Boston. It's actually good for his post-playing career to see how different organizations go about things. So once he is done playing, and it seems like he does want to get into coaching or managing, he'll have a little bit better sense of how other organizations do it. So there's always a positive to it, and who knows? Like you said, Melissa, he is a free agent. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, I know. I am a very glass half full gal, so I'll stay positive about it. But I'm so excited to hear about the World Series from you. First, I just want to ask, you know, we've been let down in years past by the Dodgers, but they've always had such great teams. When in this season did you notice this team was different?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always felt like they were different, right? I could just tell you, like with individual players, I knew there was something different about Mookie Betts all the way
Yeah.
back in spring training
The year of
because
Mookie Betts, you've been saying it.
that's right. And it turned out to be right. Even though he missed 6 weeks, he had his best postseason in his entire career. Hit close to 300, came up with big RBIs, back to back home runs in games. So he had a great October. And, it was the season of Mookie from going to shortstop, a few days before leaving for Korea, then moving to right field. It was a tremendous year. But I remember back in spring training, Melissa, where Mookie had this look in his eye that, frankly, I hadn't seen since 2020. That it's about
Wow.
October, it's about redemption. And Freddie, same thing. It's about October, it's about redemption. So those two guys really set the tone early, and you could just tell by the way they were going about their business. And then as the season went on, like you just saw the resiliency of a lot of these guys, and Teoscar Hernandez really made a huge difference on the team. Otani's passion.
Teo.
Yeah, come on, keep Teo. I agree with you. You got to keep him.
Yeah.
Otani, same thing. I know he's the greatest player, but his passion and the more he became part of the team, his emotion showed more. And, this was the first time for him ever getting to October. So it was new to him. He had the hunger for it. And I thought that was contagious with him and Teoscar and a lot of these other guys that hadn't done it as many times as the other players. Their hunger and their emotion wouldn't allow this team to just kind of dim the switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I love hearing that. And I'm so happy for Mookie Betts and the team, obviously. But even just that last game, it was so fitting that he's hitting that sac fly to get us that win. And
Yeah.
it just was such an incredible year for the Dodgers. It's like every type of adversity that could possibly happen came to this team who, on paper, should be the winners. But the way we went about it was all over the place, from the drama in the beginning to, everything with Freddie and his family. Dave Roberts always says how baseball rewards you. And I don't think there was anyone more deserving of that postseason moment that will go down in history than Freddie Freeman. But I'd love to know about the parade. Tell me about the parade.
Yeah, it was amazing, right? When we were in the parking lot, I was doing the show from the second bus that had Teoscar Hernandez, Otani, Glass now, Gavin Lux, I believe, was on there as well, and a few others. But Teoscar Hernandez was sitting behind me as we were getting ready to leave from the Dodger parking lot, and it was still early in the morning, right? And I was trying to tell him, Teoscar, this is going to blow your mind. And he's such a humble guy. And, he's played in Seattle and Toronto. I mean, that's not the same fan base as Los Angeles and being a Dodger fan.
Yeah.
So I personally believe, and I think you saw that at Dodger Stadium on the stage once the parade ended there.
I was there.
Nice. But those players, I don't think they realized how much they meant to the team and to the city. And Teoscar Hernandez, same thing. I said, Teo, you are going to be blown away. You're tired right now. He's like, yeah, we're going to go. Once we turned the corner and got out of Dodger Stadium and we were in downtown and he saw all the fans, I mean, he went through the roof. His energy, his emotions, talk about emotions. He was overwhelmed with emotions with the way the fans were not just chanting Otani's name or Mookie or Freddie. They were chanting his name. And when he stepped to the podium on stage there, I mean, the guy broke down. So I think all these players realized how much they meant to this city. And hopefully that gives them motivation when they show up in spring training next year to try to do it again.
I really do believe that. I think this win was a lot of redemption and a lot of quieting the critics. And I've said this a million times on the podcast, but I think now moving forward, for them to see with their own eyes all of these fans coming out to support them and how much they wanted this win just as much as the players, that must give them another layer of purpose and heart moving forward.
Yeah, without a doubt, Melissa. And I understand the World Series hangover. The Dodgers in 2018 had a little bit of a slow start after going 7 games and the disappointment that year. But I understand now a little bit better. What is the motivation? You just climb the mountaintop. The motivation is the hunger to be able to try to do it again. That's the motivation. And when you have great players like Mookie Betts standing on stage saying he wants 5 rings and he's got 3, that's where it starts. And, once you get into the grind of baseball, that's where it's at. But those great Jeter Yankee teams of the late 90s and early 2000s, they were so hungry and they got a taste of winning. And I've heard this from other players that have won championships. Once you get a taste, you want more. You're addicted to it. Those are the great ones. And I think that's what Dodger fans have to understand, that these guys aren't all just retiring. They're addicted to winning, and they're going to be ready to go in spring training, and they're starting the season. Here's another part, Melissa. These guys played a longer season than arguably any World Series champion in history. They started spring training before anybody else. They started the season in South Korea. They played the last game of any baseball team this year, winning the World Series. So they're going to have to do that again. They start the season in Tokyo. They start spring training earlier than anybody else again. These it's not easy to do. And that's why bringing in fresh arms like Blake Snell and others is going to help ease the burden of the pitchers that were pushed to the limit last year and started throwing sooner than anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned someone, and I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have time for 2 more questions?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I know from listening to Dodger Talk, you have a great relationship with Blake Snell. So when I saw that signing, I immediately thought of you because you've had him on Dodger Talk. Even last year, I thought we might be getting him. So you must be thrilled that we finally made him a Dodger.
Oh, yeah. Really pumped because he's a great pitcher and he's a great guy and he's hungry to win, Melissa. He wants to win really badly. And he wanted to be with the team for a long time. He was tired of bouncing around. He wanted to find a home. And he wanted to be a Dodger last year, and he definitely wanted to be a Dodger this year. So you're getting a guy that wants to be here. You're getting a guy that's hungry, and you're getting a guy that is really good, a 2-time Cy Young winner. And he's a guy that looks up to Kershaw. He's going to learn a lot from Kershaw. He wants to be great. He wants to be a Hall of Famer. So you're getting a hungry player. You're getting a guy that cares about winning, and that's important.
I'm so excited for the Blake Snell signing. And, you just mentioned Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw is really why I became a Dodger fan. Going to games when he was first starting and learning everything I possibly could about him and just watching him grow each season. It just was incredible. So to see him, Dodger fans, we have been wanting to celebrate him for so long. So to see his reaction to the reception he received, and for you to have that moment with him on the stage, I felt like when you gave him that hug, that was from all of us. So can you just tell me about what that was like for you, who's been watching him all these years too?
Yeah, I mean, another guy that I don't think fully understood how much the fans love him. And
I know, I'm even like getting teary-eyed just talking about it.
Don't do that. You're going to make it, I can't give you a hug from here, But yeah, that's what it was. He was tearing up and, I didn't know what else to do. I'm not very good with death or people crying. So that's what I did. I just said, hey, I'll do what the city's doing to you right now and just wrapping our arms around you. And he took those losses so hard all those years, and he just wears them on his sleeve, and he doesn't really show a lot of emotion, but when he does, it comes pouring out like it did that day. So I'm just happy he got that opportunity where the fans could let him know that they respect and appreciate everything he has done for the organization and how much blood, sweat, and tears he's left on the mound. It's not just about winning. It's not just about the MVP or the Cy Youngs. It's just about what he stands for. And I think the fans got to show him that.
Yeah, what a moment that was. And I'm just so incredibly happy for him, happy for the whole team. I can't wait to do it again this year. I'm so honored to have you on. I can't thank you enough. And really just a thank you from all of Dodgers Nation for all of your work. It is so appreciated. And you help us love this team even more than we already do. So thank you so much. And come back anytime.
Thanks, Melissa. We'll talk to you next year, maybe after another parade.
Woohoo. Okay. All right, David, thank you so much. And go Dodgers.